Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? Thursday is when the Saints week really got underway. Of course, they play on Monday Night Football, so the schedule's all bumped back a day. They were back on the practice field. There was media availability. The first injury report came out. Derek Carr, obviously a DNP for New Orleans. But Darren Rizzi did make it official that if Carr isn't able to go, which at this point feels like a long shot, that it's going to be what we all think it would be.
If Derek's unable to play this week, Spencer Rattler will be the starting quarterback for us. Obviously, he gave us a spark this past game in the second half. Had a real good practice day today. So that's where we are with him.
So the other big question, and that's no surprise, right? We all saw Rattler play great. He started 3 times earlier in the year when Carr was out. We saw Jake Haener get his opportunity, and it was all-time atrocious. Rattler came in, led 4 scoring drives in the second half. He's clearly higher ceiling. He's the better physical talent. He's got all the things we've talked about, and he's got more experience now. So, yes, it's the right decision. I don't think either of these guys will have a lick of success on Monday Night Football in 20-degree weather and snow at Lambeau, but someone's got to start. I'd rather go get Spencer Rattler all these reps. Now, Rizzi was asked, though, so this week, what does Carr have to do or prove to be able to play?
Well, the good news is he had a really good day today. I think he's got to put a couple of good days in a row tomorrow, or a couple of good days in a row. As I said to you guys in the beginning of the week with the extra day, we were kind of hoping that he would get some significant improvement. I would say he's going to have to, by Saturday, probably have to get a practice in order to do that. It's been significant time now. He's been down. So we would want to see him get out there and practice and go through all the, functions, like I said before, as a quarterback. So, but again, when I tell you guys asked me the other day, or somebody asked me if it was a reach that he was going to play again this season. And by no means is it a reach that he'll be back out there at some point.
Okay, so there's some conflict there. Darren Rizzi continues to double down, saying it's not a reach, but we continue to see these reports come out. The report Monday was from Rappaport that Derek Carr is still a couple of weeks away from testing contact, and if that's the case, that's the end of the season. So it remains unlikely to see that he would get out there and play, but Rizzi continues to double down on this.
I have had multiple conversations with Derek. Apparently, there's been a bunch of things written the last few days. Here's the situation with Derek. Derek Carr wants to play this season. There's absolutely zero doubt about that. He's in here every day, doing everything that he possibly can from a rehab standpoint to get himself back on the field. He had actually his best day today. I appreciate and respect the fact that he wants to come back and play, and so therefore that's why this thing's day to day. We're not going to put him in harm's way. We're going to make sure that he's able to go out there and function, and that's really what it comes down to right now. When he can fully function and go out there and function all the duties as a quarterback, he'll be back on the field. But apparently there was some reports out there about him being done for the season and things like that. If he was done for the season, we would have put him on IR by now and we would have shut him down. That's just not the case.
I think that makes sense. You also have to have a reason to put him on IR. And maybe Clyde Edwards-Helaire could be that reason. If Clyde's going to play Monday, you got to sign him to the active roster, means someone has to be cut, waived, or moved to IR. I mean, you have to make a roster spot. Maybe that's Derek Carr. Maybe not. And I can understand from Darren Rizzi's perspective, he's trying to win this job full time. Derek Carr gives him the best opportunity to do that, so I get it. One more, though, about the quarterbacks. I do want to talk about Carr's future in New Orleans in a second here, because Dan Graziano over at ESPN wrote something interesting about the Saints potentially moving on from Derek Carr after the season, which I don't think is realistic, but I'll share what Graz had to say here in just a second. But, Rizzi was asked about the 3 starts that Rattler had early in the season and how much he learned from that, how much he can improve.
I think he learned a lot of things. The thing that probably impressed me the most of that whole performance there was probably that 2-minute drill. I really liked how under the pressure, he performed, and I didn't see a sense of panic at all. I thought the last 3 games he was out there, like any rookie quarterback, there was a little bit of, some times where he looked a little panicky. I saw him much more relaxed. I saw him much more in control. I saw a lot more leadership out of him, and so that was the impressive part. Now, maybe coming off the bench with nothing to lose, kind of running around and gunslinging, but that's kind of been his thing, right? That's what's made him the guy that he is. It's kind of been his MO his whole career. So hopefully now when he knows he's preparing today, so he took all the reps today with the ones, and we're going to kind of get him ready to go if Derek can't.
I don't think we see Derek Carr again the rest of this year. That's totally speculative on my part. His hand's fractured in 2 places. He's a quarterback. You have to be able to squeeze the ball, hold the ball through contact. I don't know how that's possible. You want to numb his hand, fine. You have the same issue. So he won't feel pain. He also won't feel the ball. I could totally understand Derek Carr wanting to play next week against his former team, the Raiders. It just doesn't feel realistic to have a quarterback with a broken hand out there playing. Totally speculative on my part. It also doesn't feel realistic that the Saints would move on from Derek Carr after this year because of the massive dead cap number that they would have to own with Derek Carr if they were to trade or cut him. Plus, Derek Carr has a no trade clause in his contract, so that makes that even more complicated. But Dan Graziano over at ESPN kind of broke down some of the considerations for the Saints when it could become what it could be with Derek Carr. And all this, I think, is contingent on Spencer Rattler playing well. If Rattler starts the next 3 games and plays very well, then I think all of this becomes more of a realistic consideration. But Graziano wrote, Carr's under contract for $40 million in 2025. Of that, $10 million is a roster bonus. That's roster bonus that's already fully guaranteed and will pay out in March no matter what. The remaining $30 million becomes guaranteed against injury and is fully guaranteed at the start of the new league year in March. So if the Saints want to move on from Carr after the season, they'd have to release him before the $30 million becomes fully guaranteed. And again, that solidifies on the 3rd day of the league year on March 14th. Hard to imagine a team trading for Derek Carr. Like, remember, you're not just trading for the player, you're trading for the contract. Why would a team give you an asset to take on this awful contract for an aging player that's a bottom, middle tier to upper, lower tier quarterback? Carr would also have to waive his no-trade clause, and there's not really a lot of reason for him to do that. So, for the Saints to save money, he would have to be designated as a post-June 1 release, and they could save $30 million by deferring his salary to 2026. So that helps you this year, but again, you're still going to have a massive number for Derek Carr that follows you around. And then you look at 2025, the Saints are already about $63 million over the cap for 2025. Look, if you had a team that was willing to do a deal to trade for Derek Carr, that would be awesome. I just don't think that's realistic. And I also don't think it's realistic that the Saints are going to eat $50 million in dead cap money to not have Derek Carr on the team. What is more likely, more plausible, is that Carr is around for next year. Hopefully, Spencer Rattler plays really well over these next 3 games and can be your guy next year. And Derek Carr is just a really expensive backup in the league. And then you just figure it out after that. You release him after 2025 and you figure out what your long-term future is going to be. But it makes it much easier when you have a starting quarterback on a rookie contract. What you cannot do is continue to perpetuate these awful fiscal habits and practices of kicking the can down the road, which everybody says. You can't continue to perpetuate that because you're never going to get out of this situation if you keep doing that. So the best thing to do, yes, if someone wants to trade for Derek Carr, awesome. I just don't see somebody willingly giving you top dollar for your old jalopy. That's just not realistic in life. So, ask yourself that. If Derek Carr were on another team, would you want your team to trade for Derek Carr in his contract? Of course not. So, unless if someone's going to give you an asset to take on Derek Carr in his awful contract, which would be awesome, but that's not going to happen, you grin and bear it for another year with Derek Carr, and you find your future in 2026. Possibilities, and I can certainly appreciate Dan Graziano trying to explore them. I just don't think any of them are realistic. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.